Okay, so welcome everyone. And we're back with A Course in Miracles. We're studying the text. My name's Eloisa Ramos, and I'm here with some of my friends and my daughter. To everyone, do you want to just say hi and tell us your name?
Hi, I'm Sonia.
And I'm Connie.
I'm Teresa.
Hey, so we left off today. Let's see, we left off last week on chapter 1, the meaning of miracles. And we are starting with section 3 now, Atonement and Miracles. So we'll just take paragraph by paragraph. Let's see, I'll go ahead and start. So I am in charge of the process of atonement, which I undertook to begin. When you offer a miracle to any of my brothers, you do it to yourself and me. The reason you come before me is that I do not need miracles for my own atonement, but I stand at the end in case you fail temporarily. My part in the atonement is the canceling out of all errors that you could not otherwise correct. When you have been restored to the recognition of your original state, you naturally become part of the atonement yourself. As you share my unwillingness to accept error in yourself and others, you must join the great crusade to correct it. Listen to my voice, learn to undo error, and act to correct it. The power to work miracles belongs to you. I will provide the opportunities to do them, but you must be ready and willing. Doing them will bring conviction in the ability, because conviction comes through accomplishment. The ability is the potential, the achievement is its expression, and the atonement, which is the natural profession of the children of God, is the purpose. Okay, so some of that seems really familiar to me. I think it must have been in one of the other sections too. Anything that stands out there for you guys?
Well, I like in sentence 7, the power to work miracles belongs to you. And 8, too, I will provide the opportunities to do them, but you must be ready and willing. And I was thinking of that this morning when I was on a walk, and that came to me that, oh, I need to open my mind more to receive. Yeah. So it was a big aha in that moment. Like,
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, because we have the tendency to want to rely on our own self, little self with a small s. Because what we learn in the world is that we are supposed to be self-sufficient, independent, on our own. What's the word? Self-reliant, and that everything that we have, we earn by our own effort and our own accomplishments. And so to believe that, to be open to the idea that everything comes from God and not ourselves is really, really radical. Because it says that we really, what we are is given to us because we are the created by the Creator, who is everything and has created us in his likeness, and therefore we are everything, we have everything, and we are always let's see, we are not the source of everything. And in order to give, we need to be open to receive. So we recognize that it is that it is love that comes from God, that is a creative power of the miracle, of love, of joining, of peace, of happiness. And we want to be able to give that to others, to share that with others. And we can only do it if we recognize that we have it because we have received it. And the only way we do that is by opening our mind to recognizing that we are not self-created, that we are not this independent little self trying to be special in this world. So, because all of that gets in the way of receiving. So let's see. And the process of atonement in sentence 1 is really the change of mind that the Course talks about, which is the miracle, because it is undoing the belief in separation, that we are this separate little self, ego, body that functions on its own. And therefore, that's the same for others. And therefore, we are going to be in conflict because what I want, may not be what you want. And there may not be enough for both of us. And we're going to have to battle it out or something to survive, So, so that's the process of atonement. And it says, I am in charge of the process of atonement. So it's talking about Christ, the Christ mind. Because that is the mind that has realized the atonement, meaning that the separation never happened. So it is the mind that recognizes itself as one with God. And we are in that process. And the miracle, offering miracles, is how we work through that process and come to recognizing that, yes, the separation never happened, and therefore accepting the atonement. And that's why 3 says, the reason you come before me is that I do not need miracles for my own atonement. Okay, because I stand at the end. So the Christ mind, Jesus, stands for, represents the accomplishment of this realization. Some people call that enlightenment. And so he stands there at the end in case we fail temporarily. So you could say that he's our backup. So even if we fail, we don't fail because the Christ mind is one mind. And so it's already been accomplished, even if we seem to fail in accomplishing, our own process, in our own process of atonement, because it's not a, it's not a linear process. We may be willing to forgive sometimes, and sometimes we're not willing to forgive. And sometimes we can be very open and willing to change our point of view in our mind and be accepting and forgiving. And sometimes, we don't. Sometimes we say, okay, I just, this has gone too far. I can't forgive this. It's too much. But either way, Jesus, or the Christ mind, represents the real mind that we share as the created Son of God, and who has already accomplished the realization that there is no separation.
Mhm.
Okay, so anything else there?
Nope.
Okay. Okay, who wants to read next? Sonia, do you want to go next?
Sure. Okay. Heaven and earth shall pass away means that they will not continue to exist as separate states. My word, which is the resurrection and the life, shall not pass away because life is eternal. You are the work of God, and his work is wholly lovable and wholly loving. This is how a man must think of himself in his heart, because this is what he is.
Okay, so anything? I think the real important thing here, which is not the way that we think of ourselves, is number 3. You are the work of God, and his work is wholly lovable and wholly loving. And I think that, for a lot of us, we want to believe that we are not wholly lovable and that we are not wholly loving. Because if we experience unkindness, or if we are unkind to others, we tend to judge, and we judge ourselves as being mean and not loving, or judge others as being, unloving and mean. And so we're equating what we are with our behavior, with what we do, which is not true. So the doing is the, let's see, is coming from how we are perceiving the situation. And if we are incorrectly perceiving a situation, we're going to, behave incorrectly. There's going to be error there. So there's a call for love there, because there's a call for correction, because clearly we're confused about what we are. Yeah. But a lot of times we hold that against ourselves, or we hold it against people, and we make it unforgivable. And that's why the guilt stays stuck there.
Mhm.
And the guilt witnesses to ourself not being wholly lovable or loving. It says that we are bad people, that we are sinners, that we deserve punishment and not love, that kind of thing. And so let's see, the first line, heaven and earth shall pass away, means that they will not continue to exist as separate states. So for the most part, we split ourselves in, we tend to say, oh, for the most part, I'm really a good person. Okay, but I'm not perfect. So I have my, my idiosyncrasies or whatever. Okay. Or then we look at somebody else and we say, oh man, that person is really bad for the most part. Maybe they have a couple of redeeming qualities, but stay away from them, that kind of thing. But so we do tend to split ourselves, how we look at ourselves and how we look at life in terms of heaven. Everything is perfect. It's good. I feel good. Everything's going my way. Or, oh man, this is rough. I'm really in a tough spot. Pain is gain. That's kind of like earth, body. So, I hit a roadblock, it's very concrete kind of limiting experience. And so we tend to really separate those two. So it's kind of a dissociation of the ego being this free kind of dissociated from the body, oh, I can do whatever the heck I want, or it's the body, oh man, I got to go to work, I have all this responsibility, I got kids to feed, I've got, all this kind of downer stuff, but that's life. So we have this back and forth thing. And there seems to be like a separation. We have these ups and downs all the time. And so what it's saying here is that separation is not real, and that the miracle shows us that it's not real because it's not it's not a reflection of our true self, which is not split. It's not split because there's no judgment, first of all, and there's no comparison, and so there's no differences. The true perception, the vision from the Holy Spirit would show us that everything is one, everything is the same, everything is equal, everything is good, period. Okay, so even the stuff that seems to be a mistake is not a mistake. It's just the lesson that we brought in with us that's going to help us in this process of atonement, because that's the opportunity we have to forgive. And so, and that's what's going to help us to realize, number 3, that we are the work of God, and that we are wholly lovable and wholly loving. And that goes to everyone without exception. So, yeah. Okay. Okay. Ready to go number 3? Okay.
The forgiven are the means of the atonement. Being filled with spirit, they forgive in return. Those who are released must join in releasing their brothers, for this is the plan of the atonement. Miracles are the way in which minds that serve the Holy Spirit unite with me for the salvation or release of all of God's creations.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so look at number 1. What do you think? Why do you think that the forgiven are the means of the atonement?
Well, that's how we bridge the so-called separation we think has occurred.
Okay, so are we the forgiven?
Yes, everything.
Yes. So the forgiven are the people, are the minds, are those that are in the process of seeking the truth, which is that we are not guilty, that we are innocent, we are the forgiven, because we never separated from God.
Okay, yeah.
And I think it's using the word forgiven because we're coming from a place where we have been believing that we are guilty. Because we have been believing that we are separate from God and that we accomplished that, and that is an attack on God, that we usurp the power of God by offending God and making ourselves, in effect, greater than God to be able to attack God. And for that, we would need forgiveness because we have sinned against God. So the forgiven would be having released all of the ideas around having believed that we have sinned against God.
Mm.
And so to release all those ideas is really to release the belief in the ego, right? Because the ego is the belief in separation, and therefore it comes with guilt. And so to let that go means that we are now being filled with spirit. And to be filled with spirit is to be filled with love. And so the forgiven forgive in return, because that is the sharing of love. And I mean, I don't know if you've had experiences where you have done something, okay, and you feel really bad about it, but the person is just so gracious and loving that they just completely tell you, you know, don't worry about it, perfectly okay. We'll just take care of the problem. It's not a big deal. And they just put it aside. And because of that, the guilt that you were holding against yourself just vanishes. So, so that's how my brother can release me, and that's how I can release my brother. Because we don't join in the belief that the error is guilt, is sin. We just look to correcting it, and that's it. Everybody makes mistakes. You know, we just move past, we move forward, we look at it, we do what needs to be done to, you know, fix the problem, whatever was made, whatever mess came out of it. And then we just move forward. We don't hold it against it. We don't, like, you know, stay away from them because, you know, last time they did this to me, that kind of a thing. But we just make peace with it and forgive, because the forgiving means that we recognize that any kind of hurt that I feel is not coming from what someone else does. It's coming from my own thinking, because I cannot be truly vulnerable to attack as a son of God. Okay. If I believe that I am vulnerable to attack and I feel hurt, my feelings are hurt. You know, you hurt my feelings. Okay. You broke my, you know, beautiful antique curio cabinet. Okay. Or something like that. And I'm going to believe that those feelings of upset and anger were made by you. Okay, I'm not going to be recognizing the truth about the power of my own mind to decide how I feel. And that's that's one of the biggest things about A Course in Miracles. It really emphasizes that we are responsible for not just for what we do, but for what we think and what we feel. You know, we're responsible for everything that shows up in our experience. And that's not something that that we are very easily going to accept. You know, we have to really work at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sorry, everything you're talking about, it just reminded me of so my car is really broken inside, and almost 90% of it was quote unquote done by somebody else. So any guest or any person that I asked to fix my car or to be in it or has driven it, everything has been broken by them. So So it's really funny because I can't even open my driver's side door. So anytime I get into my car, I literally have to go into the passenger seat. I can't open the driver's side door because it's just everything is broken, right? So I had to go through this myself. So I really had to look at it and be like, well, why? I must have been calling this, and I must have wanted them to break my car. Why else would this keep happening, you know? Because I could easily say, oh, like I didn't do it, you know, everyone else broke my car, you know, they did this and this. And for a second, I was getting really angry, you know, I would be like, oh, how could they do this? You know, like this is my car, you know, and they broke like everything. I can't even use it, you know. But it's just really interesting because I caught myself when they first told me that the door handle was completely broken and you couldn't open my car. I was about to go into the anger and be like, oh my God, like why did you do this, you know? But then I stopped myself and I was just like, okay, you know what? It is how it is. I cannot change anything. This is how it is. So I'm not even gonna go into it. And I'm glad that I did that because it's just not worth it. It's not worth all of the giving the power of my suffering to somebody else. It just doesn't make sense.
Did they even apologize, Sonia?
No,
No.
no. And you know, it's funny because this has been happening to somebody else too. So they never apologized for something I quote unquote like held against them. But after forgiving them, it's fine. I don't need the apology, you know, because I can forgive them even though they haven't apologized. So I guess it's not about them, it's more about me, even though I can recognize that they don't want to take responsibility. But I'm just going to take my own responsibility, if that makes sense.
Mhm, mhm.
Is this just one person who's done several things to the car? Or
No,
you made it sound like several people have
it
done.
was two people. Actually, maybe three, because one, I did break my own vent, but that was the only thing in the car that I broke. Absolutely everything was just two people, mainly one person.
Wow. Maybe you really want a new car. Is that what's
I
happening?
I think so, you know. I think I must have asked them to just be like, okay, just completely destroy my car. That's oh my
Wow.
God.
Can you drive it?
Yeah, it still runs fine. I can still drive it. I just have to get into the passenger seat. I can't, my door's busted. So, you know, I can still drive it.
And her windows don't go down anymore
No,
because that's broken.
nope.
Uh, So, yeah, and I mean, that's happened to me too. But the thing that I'm learning from that is that, is to not be attached to things because they don't last.
Yeah.
And I realized that if I am attached to things and things happen, things break, I suffer. And,
Mhm.
and I don't want to suffer. So it's like, okay, well, okay, it broke, it broke. you know,
Yeah.
that's how it goes.
Yeah. That's
So,
exactly it. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, yeah, it's learning. It's learning about what's really important and, about what's eternal and what's not eternal and what we value. So, yes.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything more on paragraph 3?
Nope.
Okay. Do you want to go, Teresa, number 4?
Yes, I am the only one who can perform miracles indiscriminately because I am the atonement. You have a role in the atonement which I dictate to you. Ask me which miracles you should perform. This spares you needless effort because you will be acting under direct communication. The impersonal nature of the miracle is an essential ingredient because it enables me to direct its application. And under my guidance, miracles lead to the highly personal experience of revelation. A guide does not control, but he does direct, leaving it up to you to follow. Lead us not into temptation means recognize your errors and choose to abandon them by following my guidance.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, so in this paragraph, it's really talking about the importance of not trying to control, let's see, not trying to control the miracle, who gets the miracle, you might say. It's not so much getting, it's that we may get personally invested in trying to be truly helpful with someone, maybe because, they're a relative or friend. And, maybe they're going through really hard times and we want to be helpful. And, but it's not, but like number one says, okay, I am the only one who can perform miracles indiscriminately. So any miracle that we perform is not our doing, it's coming through us. So the miracle is not something that we can take personal credit for. Okay, because if we begin to try to take personal credit for it, the ego gets in there right away. And so we each have a role in the atonement, but that comes from the guidance. That's higher guidance. It's Holy Spirit, it's Christ's mind guidance. And so that's why it says, number 3, ask me which miracles you should perform, because the miracle, there's another place where it talks about miracle readiness. So everybody is not ready to receive miracles. Sometimes a miracle could be very, very fearful to someone. It'll go into it, I believe, in the next chapter or so. And since we're not at the end, like Jesus, Christ's mind is at the end, we can't know the whole picture of, well, why is it that, we were, this was helpful for this person, but it's not helpful for this person. Because sometimes people, say, well, so-and-so healed and I, for some reason, can't seem to heal from my problem, from my sickness, from, my relationship issue, from lack or whatever it is that they're experiencing, from feeling rejected or, whatever. And so it's not that any one person is more deserving of the miracle. Everybody is deserving of a miracle. But I believe one of the miracle principles says that we have to, there has to be a purification first in order to receive the miracle. And so, and we don't know that. We don't know that, I really want to help my friend. She's really, really sick and, or she's really depressed or she's whatever. And we want to see a miracle for them. They want a miracle, but that may not be, they may not be ready for it. And so we have to ask for guidance as far as, number 3, ask me which miracles you should perform. And this bears a needless effort because you will be acting under direct communication. So that direct communication means that there is no little self in the way trying to make things go a certain way. And so that there's just an opening of the mind to allow this communication, which is just love, to come through for the miracle to show up. So for the other person to, to have that awareness of the love. And so number 5 says, see the impersonal nature of the miracle. Because if we make it personal, we're taking ownership of it. And it's not, the miracle doesn't just belong to someone or to the miracle worker. It's it comes from God through the miracle worker. And let's see. And so the impersonal nature of the miracle is an essential ingredient to be able to perform the miracle, because it's not under our own guidance, but it's under higher guidance. Yes, and so number 7 says, lead us not into temptation, means recognize your errors and choose to abandon them by following my guidance. Yeah. Okay, so, recognize our errors, and our error is that we have a tendency to want to go off on our own little ego trips. And, and that's a very strong temptation, okay, which goes hand in hand with guilt. And so we need to recognize that and do our best to not go that route, but instead follow higher guidance, which means kind of getting our own self, our own little ego out of the way. Yeah, Connie?
Okay, so help me out here. I see myself when I run across someone who seems depressed, or I just always feel when I leave somebody that I need to say something positive or something that might help them. But it feels, yeah, I'm not quite sure if it is coming from ego, but it's.
Well, are you able to get a little deeper into why you feel or you think that you need to say something positive? What is that going to do? What do you think that's going to do for them?
That's really interesting. And just as I was sitting here, I was thinking about, it was just kind of a bummer, but shortly before my father took his life himself, I was a young girl and I sensed his helplessness, and he was needing to make a change with his career. Anyway, and I just felt myself needing to really, I was trying to save him, trying to encourage him that he could do it. I felt like, yeah, so I think that's, a lot of it. And so, yeah, and, but I also just feel like maybe it would help them to hear just a little spark of something. And because sometimes I will hear something that someone says and it will, just kind of turn a light on somewhere. And so, yeah, I'm a little perplexed by it. I mean, I can certainly feel if I'm really trying to force somebody to change their mind about something, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, you might want to, sit with that a little bit longer, a little more, because sometimes there's a little bit of guilt. There's guilt there, because we tend to want to believe that, maybe if someone had done this, or maybe if, something else had happened, then that wouldn't have happened. Your dad wouldn't have decided the way that he did.
Maybe if I just said the right thing, just
exactly
something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we tend to take on responsibility
Mhm,
for a
mhm.
decision that is not ours.
It's for me, it's hard to see somebody so depressed.
I think it's hard for everybody to see
Is
someone.
it? Is it?
Yeah, it really,
Okay.
really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Because I think that it probably reminds us of grief, maybe. I think it takes us back to a very, very deep sense of loss. That if we can go to and release and give over to the Holy Spirit, it may be very healing because the belief in separation is a belief in loss, a belief that we lost love, that we lost our true loving nature, that we are no longer loving, or that we lost that one that loved us unconditionally. And so that we blame ourselves for not being loving or lovable and having lost that. So there's a really a deep, there can be a really deep sense of grief along with that guilt in there. Because death can often come with a sense of abandonment. And for people that that are Christian, the abandonment piece is Jesus on the cross saying, God, why have you forsaken me? So it's a deep, deep sense of, oh my God, I am suffering and I have no one there to support me and love me because I'm on my own. And I think that that's a big, big part of depression. It's a sense that we have lost a part, that the best part of ourselves, you could say, or at least a part of ourselves that we really valued, you know. So yeah, so it is. It's hard to see someone that's depressed because it reminds us that this is not a happy world. We're not truly happy here. We want to believe we are, but this world is not a very what's the word? It's not a loving place. Okay, the Course says that we brought the world with us. Okay, and we didn't bring it with us to remind us that we're in heaven, because we believe we're separate from heaven. So we kind of brought it with us to believe that it could protect us from God, who we offended and now have to kind of hide from, because we don't believe we brought God with us. We think God is somewhere, out there, but not in the world with us, because we feel we are on our own when we believe we're separate. Yeah.
So in being with people, there is one guy who comes, he's been coming to Course of Miracles for a long time and doing Course of Love, and he is always so depressed, and I just want to shake him and say, stop it. And he just talks about gloom and doom. And like I said, he's been in the Course for so long, but it's my issue that, he really, I just think, God, and everybody's trying to, say things to encourage him. I mean, he's keeps saying that, he's hope it doesn't get to a drastic place. And I think, oh, but yeah, I'm not sure what that means. And yeah, it's his thing, but yeah, it's it's my thing because I can't seem to detach from it all the time or just let him have that. And
Yes, but remember, what is it that dies?
well, yeah, it's the body that dies, but
Yes.
his
So
mind needs healing, and people are trying to help him heal his mind. And
yes,
uh,
yes. So the healing of the mind is the remembering of what is true. Okay, that's the miracle. Okay.
mhm,
And so the remembering
yeah,
is the acceptance of the atonement, which says, okay, you're not a body, you're not an ego, you are not separate from God. Okay. It's okay if you believe that. Okay. Um, and it's okay if, because you believe that, you are depressed and you feel miserable.
mm,
Okay. Because things aren't going, you know, the way you want them
right,
to, the way the ego would want them to. Okay. And that's fine. You know, the ego can have its little capriciousness. Okay. And that's what the course says that depression is. I don't know if you're, I think it's in chapter 4, if I'm not mistaken.
mm.
It's a capriciousness of the ego.
Oh, right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, hmm,
Yes. So there's nothing wrong with feeling depressed. Okay, with wanting to be depressed. There's nothing wrong with it. Okay, because in the end, okay, the body is going to die. And whether it's by suicide or whether it's by sickness, by COVID, or whether it's by, auto accident, just like that, one day to the next, perfectly healthy, and boom, next day. Okay. So whether it's sudden or whether it takes a while, it's all the same thing. Okay. If you start making a difference between suicide and dying from quote unquote natural causes, which is sickness, well, sickness is not natural. I mean, or even old age. What is natural about old age? Well, we're just used to it. Okay. But why? But that's not our true nature. So, so ultimately, and I think that's what I was trying to get at with things that break, and I'm attached to them. We are very, 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 very attached to the body. We really think we are a body. And when someone chooses to just, boom, put an end to the body, we are not very comfortable with that. Okay, because we value the body so much. It's like, oh my God, how could they do that? We want to go into judgment, but ultimately everyone came in and everyone has the script already, and these are the lessons that we are here to learn. And so however it is that death comes to us, it is with our consent, and that's not easy to accept, but it's true. So he's perfectly within his own free will.
of course, yeah,
Yes, and I would want to respect his wishes. Okay, just
yeah,
like I would respect, my parents' wishes when they passed. I would want to respect everybody else's wishes because I would want my wishes respected too, right? I
right.
mean,
And quit
don't,
trying
yeah,
to
why?
change them and fix them. That's the problem. Trying to change them and fix them can't be done.
Well, not only that, but you have to question, what is it that needs fixing? What am I seeing that they are?
Yeah, what is it in me that's feeling so uncomfortable with this? Yeah.
Mhm. And how is it that you are seeing them? Because you're clearly not
Uh-huh.
seeing their true self.
Uh-huh. There
Because
you go.
because
Yeah.
that's an imperfect self that would need fixing.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's helpful. Yeah.
Mhm.
Seeing, yeah.
Mhm. The
Okay.
imperfection. Yeah. So
Mm. That's a pattern that keeps occurring. Like even this morning on my walk, I met one of my neighbors and I was thinking how depressed he seemed, and it was kind of a drag to be near him. He was just, and then of course I left with a little cheerful saying at the end, thinking, you know, maybe that will fix him. Maybe he'll think about that. So that's definitely the ego.
Yeah, so let's look at what the miracle is. The miracle is not fixing anything. Okay, the miracle is actually undoing. So think about yes. So when we want to fix something, okay, we believe it's broken, and we believe that the break is real. So we believe that what we are judging wrong, that's broken, is real. And therefore we're trying to correct the error that is real. Okay. The miracle is not trying to correct an error that is real. The miracle is trying to help us see that the error is not real and there's nothing to fix.
And okay, so a friend is, saying all this stuff to you, and so you just don't say anything. I mean, this gets confusing sometimes. And
Yeah, it's not so much about what we say or what we do. It's about whether we're just present with them. And we're
having compassion.
and we're in a place of just accepting them and not judging
Yeah.
them, because a lot of times people will they will sense that. They will sense when you can just be present with them, not trying to change them, not trying to fix them, not trying to make them feel better, not because that helps them to see that whatever it is that they're feeling is not being acknowledged, okay, by somebody else, which would make them believe that what they're feeling is real. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I don't, I like people, to have some sort of feedback and, not just be like this void of, oh.
Connie, I mean, think about yourself. Sometimes when you are feeling down, you're not looking for feedback. You're just looking for someone to listen to you.
I don't know.
No?
No, not
Well,
always.
okay. Well, think about when you feel depressed. Are
Yeah.
you wanting someone to just give you a positive,
Maybe so. Maybe I need to hear a little, like a little something great that's happened out in the so-called universe to shift my, whatever it is I'm dwelling on, or sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. So what does the Course say about change? Where does change happen and where does it come from?
In my own mind, yes.
Yes. So why are you expecting it to come from outside of you, from something that someone else is going to say to you?
Well, it's not that I'm expecting it. I don't think. It's just sometimes it's just kind of nice to hear a little boop to, shift your thought process.
Okay, but when you're saying that you hear something and that shifts your thought process, okay, are you making that causal? Are you saying that is the cause that's going to get me out of this rut and make me feel better?
I don't know, maybe. And if I'm taking this too far, we can move on. I think Sonia wanted to say something.
What? Go ahead,
Oh,
Sonia.
no,
Yeah.
I just want to say, I don't know if this helps, Connie, but I've noticed personally in my life, somebody that I'm close to, I have had to just stop giving them any kind of help because really it's not helpful.
Mhm.
So for them, it seems like that they want help, but really they don't want any help, even though they might ask for it. And I think it was hard for me to finally accept that the most loving thing that I could do for someone like that is to just step back and just be there, not even give advice or anything, just don't even judge it because they want to keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And I've noticed that when I don't say anything or I don't judge them, just completely just be there with them, they actually tell me more. Like they tell me things that they don't tell other people because they feel safe and not judged by anything that they do. So, at least for me, I kind of had to recognize that even though they're suffering in relationships or just their personal lives, like it's really just the most loving thing to do is just to let them go their own way because I have no idea why they're choosing to do that, right? It could be who knows, but that's the only thing I can do. I don't know if that helps, but that was a big lesson that I needed to learn too.
Yeah, yeah, and I do that with, yeah. It's, yeah, just in
Mhm.
general, I'm just thinking, yeah, it's not judging. That's the key thing. Not judging it as wrong or bad. And
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
just it is. It
Yeah.
is. Yeah. I guess I just want everything to be happy-go-lucky.
And you're not getting what you want, Connie.
I know. Ah,
Here he goes frustrated.
having a tantrum.
Yeah.
Okay, well, sorry to deviate.
That's okay.
That's
Hmm.
fine.
Okay, I don't remember who was next though. Is it me?
I think it is you.
Yes.
Okay, number 5. Error cannot really threaten truth, which can always withstand it. Only the error is actually vulnerable. You are free to establish your kingdom where you see fit, but the right choice is inevitable if you remember this. Spirit is in a state of grace forever. Your reality is only spirit. Therefore, you are in a state of grace forever. Atonement undoes all errors in this aspect and thus uproots the source of fear. Whenever you experience God's reassurances as threat, it is always because you are defending misplaced or misdirected loyalty. When you project this to others, you imprison them, but only to the extent to which you reinforce errors they have already made. This makes them vulnerable to the distortions of others, since their own perception of themselves is distorted. The miracle worker can only bless them, and this undoes their distortions and frees them from prison. Okay, so there's a lot there. Anything?
I guess I just didn't I guess you can elaborate more. I think number 9 just stood out to me.
Is it because of what you were talking about?
But what before?
Number 9, when you project this to others, you imprison them. So so let's go line by line.
Mhm.
Let's go line 1. Error cannot really threaten truth, which can always withstand it. Okay, is that pretty clear, right?
Mm.
Right. So truth is without error. And because truth is without error, error cannot really threaten it. Okay. So it's like, it's a little bit like this. So say that someone is really pissed off at me and says some really mean things about me. Oh, you are so selfish. You know, you don't care about me. You just care about yourself. Okay. Or something like that. Okay. And, but I know that's not true. Okay. I know that I really, really care about them. And I'm really just trying to do what's loving. Okay. And so the fact that they may misinterpreted my intention, okay, is an error, is a misinterpretation. Okay. And so that error does not really threaten me. Okay. If I really know the truth. Okay. But suppose that I believe that deep down inside, I really am selfish. I've already judged myself selfish. Okay. So when they tell me, you know, oh, you're so selfish. Okay. Them saying that to me is going to affect me because I've already judged myself that way. Okay. And so I don't know the truth. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So only the error is actually vulnerable. So in this case, if I know the truth, okay, I know that in deep in my heart, I'm not trying to be selfish. I'm, you know, I really just want the best for them. Okay. Then only the error, which is the misperception, which is why they're upset. Okay. Because it's a misperception, only that is vulnerable. And it's vulnerable because it's not true. It's a lie. Okay. They're misperceiving the situation and it's a lie. And when we are making up stories and justifying our upset and our anger and our attack, we're actually in a very vulnerable place. And we have to hide it by, you know, often being very mean and aggressive. And so that's number 2. Only the error is actually vulnerable. We have to protect the error. So, okay, so number 3, you are free to establish your kingdom where you see fit. But the right choice is inevitable. Okay, so our kingdom is basically, we really only have two choices. It's either love or it's fear. Where are we going to, you know, build our home, our kingdom? Are we going to build it on sand, you know, which is fear? Or are we going to build it on a strong foundation, which is love? Okay, so, but ultimately, okay, I keep building it on sand, and guess what? Keeps falling down. I keep investing in objects that break, and guess what? They keep breaking, and I keep getting disappointed, and I keep getting hurt, and I lose my investment. I paid a lot of money, and now it's down the drain. And all of that, you know, I invested in a relationship and it didn't work out. They abandoned me. They left me for somebody else. You know, it's all of that. Okay. I built my kingdom on sand and now it's washed up. Okay. So I repeat that many, many times. And finally, it's inevitable, okay, that my choice is finally going to change. If I remember this, spirit is in a state of grace forever. And My reality, your reality is only spirit. Therefore, you are in a state of grace forever. So at some point, I get tired of all the suffering, of repeating the same mistake over and over and over, investing in the wrong people, investing in the wrong stock, investing in, whatever. But there's always the memory that there is another way, that I could have peace instead of this, that I could remember that I am created by God and that I am spirit and in grace forever. And that I don't have to invest in a kingdom built on sand. I can choose to build on stable ground this time, a stable, build on spirit this time. Choose the guide, choose a different guide this time. And so remembering that I am not a separate self, that's a body, that's an ego, that invests in things that are impermanent, is to remember that the atonement never happened. And that undoes all error. And it thus uproots the source of fear, which is instability. Spirit is stable because it's eternal. Okay, ego and body are not stable because they're not eternal. So number 8, whenever you experience God's reassurances as threat, and I would call that polarity reversal. So if we are experiencing God's reassurances that, I'm spirit, I'm in a state of grace forever, I don't have to be scared, I don't have to be afraid. If I interpret that as a threat, I am afraid of healing. That's the fear of healing. Okay. And it is always because you are defending misplaced or misdirected loyalty. Okay. So if I read number 4, number 5, and 96, and I am threatened by that, okay, in any way, if I feel fearful in any way, it's because I would rather be an ego or a body. And I am defending this misdirected loyalty. I would rather be this little self struggling, but at least I fit in, you see. So there's a lot of fear with with looking for another way, because the majority of people in the world are okay with are okay with the ups and downs and the duality and the conflict and the fear. That's excitement. That's part of the thrill. That's part of the ride. So then we tend to see ourselves as not fitting in. And so that may be fearful, because we may think, oh my God, I'm going to be a misfit. I'm not going to have any friends anymore, or people are going to think I'm weird, or, whatever. Okay, so if we project this to others, we imprison them. Okay, so if I have misdirected loyalty and I'm defending my ego, and then I project it onto others and I see them the same way, okay, that they're defending their egos, that's all they are, their bodies and egos. What I'm doing is I am imprisoning them, okay, because I am supporting the misperception that they have of themselves, but only to the extent to which you reinforce errors they have already made. So that's kind of what I was getting to at the beginning when I was saying that we all have different beliefs But if I believe something that you don't believe, it's not going to impact you because you don't believe it. Okay, it's only if you already believe the same thing that it's going to have an impact. And that's why that's why others can't really hurt us. We've already judged ourselves that way first. Okay, so 10 is this makes them vulnerable to the distortion of others. Okay, so it's an error that they have already made. And because they've already made that judgment about themselves, which is not true, it makes them vulnerable to the distortions of others. We distort, you know, we say things that are not true about other people. And it makes other people vulnerable to them only because they already believe it, since their own perceptions of themselves is already distorted. The miracle worker can only bless them. Okay. And the miracle worker is not going to offer distortion because the miracle worker is not going to project. So if we're someone and what we can offer them is no judgment, no projection, that in itself is a blessing to them. We don't have to do or say anything. You know, the simple act of not projecting, not judging will be a blessing for them. And this undoes their distortions and frees them from prison. And that's what Sonia was saying, that it's actually more helpful to just, you know, listen, offer them just an ear and and not support their own distortions of themselves, so that we don't imprison them, because they've already imprisoned themselves.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. So what I got from that was a really good explanation. It's really just about not wanting to support the illusion and give validity to their error, or the error that they're making or I'm making.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, so the Course says to join with your brother, but not in their dream.
Mm.
Mhm. And that's how the miracle worker blesses them,
Okay.
because you're not supporting the dream and making it even more real for them, because it's imprisonment in unreality.
Mhm. Oh, is it my
I think
turn?
it's Connie's turn.
It's
I
Connie.
think, didn't you
It-
just read, or did I
I
read?
thought you just read.
Oh, it's your turn, Sonia.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
Okay. 6. You respond to what you perceive, and as you perceive, so shall you behave. The golden rule asks you to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. This means that the perception of both must be accurate. The golden rule is the rule for appropriate behavior. You cannot behave appropriately unless you perceive correctly. Since you and your neighbor are equal members of one family, as you perceive both, so you will do to both. You should look out from the perception of your own holiness to the holiness of others.
Mhm. Mhm. This is a really, really beautiful paragraph.
Mhm.
And it says some really key things. The first one is line 1. You respond to what you perceive, and as you perceive, so you shall behave. Okay, So what we perceive, we think that what we are perceiving is really out there. Okay, it's not really out there. What we are perceiving is our interpretation of what is out there. Okay, so those are not the same thing. Okay, so if we don't interpret, if we don't judge, we have clear perception. Okay, we have true perception. But if we interpret or judge and or go by associations of, you know, what does this mean to me? We're only seeing the past. And therefore we're going to be responding or basically reacting to what is not there. And then we're going to be behaving accordingly, which is not going to be appropriate to the situation. And so the number 2, the golden rule asks that you do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Okay. And this means that the perception of both must be accurate. Okay. Because if our perception is not accurate, if there's distortion in our interpretation, if we are bringing the past, our past, and letting the interpretation be based on that, our perception is not going to be accurate. And that's why the healing of the mind is so important. Because if we don't heal our mind, our perception is going to be distorted. We're going to be basing what we see in the other person, just like the example that you gave, Connie. What you were perceiving in the person that you saw as depressed has a lot to do, a lot of connection to the past with your father. Okay. And so the behavior is not going to necessarily be appropriate. So the golden rule is the rule for appropriate behavior, but you cannot behave appropriately unless you perceive correctly. Yeah. Since you and your neighbor are equal members of one family, as you perceive both, so you will do to both. So what it's saying is that our perception of ourselves cannot be separate from the perception of others. And that's, if we really understood that, we wouldn't judge at all, okay? Because what it's saying is that to judge, if I judge you one way, I am going to have to judge myself that way too. There's no way for me, no matter how hard I try to have a double standard, okay? I try to have one standard for me and one standard for you. Maybe the standard for me is higher. Maybe the standard for you is higher. It doesn't matter, okay? Because we're equal members of one family, my judgments are going to apply equally to me and to you. And so, what I see in you that I judge is because I have already seen and judged it in myself. So a lot of times you can tell a lot about a person and their past simply by listening to all the judgments that are coming out of their mouth about other people. You can tell a lot because all those judgments mean that they have already judged themselves that way unconsciously. And they're projecting it to not be able to see it from in themselves. That's how we hide it in the unconscious mind. So people give themselves away all the time when they're judging other people. because it's all a projection. And that's why it's saying, look, because we project, number 7, you should look out from the perception of your own holiness so that you can see the holiness of others. Because it'll just be a reflection. Okay, so when you're ready, Connie.
Okay. Miracles arise from a mind that is ready for them. By being united, this mind goes out to everyone, even without the awareness of the miracle worker himself. The impersonal nature of miracles is because the atonement itself is one, uniting all creations with their creator. As an expression of what you truly are, the miracle places the mind in a state of grace. The mind then naturally welcomes the host within and the stranger without. When you bring in the stranger, he becomes your brother. That was lovely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, so, okay, so miracles arise from a mind that is ready for them. And the mind is ready by being united. Okay, this mind goes out to everyone. So a mind that recognizes that it is not separate from the other, but it is simply the same. And we're just going to reflect in others what we see in us. That mind will be ready for miracles to arise. Okay, even without the awareness of the miracle worker himself. So, because miracles are of an impersonal nature, and personal means personality. It means an individual self, an individual private mind, and that's a mind that is not ready for a miracle because it has not recognized that it is united with everyone, that it is one self, one creation. And so, because the atonement itself is one, the recognition of that there is no separation is one accomplishment. It's already been accomplished by the Christ mind. And to recognize that is to identify with the Christ mind, which unites all creation with their creator. And so it is an expression of what we truly are. And therefore, the miracles that arise from that mind place the mind in a state of grace, because the mind is welcoming the host, which is the Holy Spirit within. The recognition that the mind is holy. And it's also welcoming the stranger without, because it's a recognition that they're not a stranger. They're my brother. They're me. They're the same. Yeah. So when you bring in the stranger, he becomes your brother. Yes. So it's saying the same thing in different ways. That it's one mind, one creation. We're all brothers in that creation. So we're all one self. Okay. Okay, anything there? Anything else before we stop?
No.
Okay. Okay, so let's see. That was paragraph 7. And let me see how many more paragraphs it has. Okay, so this is probably a good place to stop.
Two more
Oh,
paragraphs.
it has two
Yeah.
more paragraphs. I wonder if we should try to finish the two more paragraphs.
Are you open to that, Sonia and Teresa?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
All right. Let's do number
Okay.
8 then.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
Good.
the miracle may have effects on your brothers that you may not recognize is not your concern. The miracle will always bless you. Miracles are not asked to perform. Miracles you are not asked to perform have not lost their value. They are still expressions of your own state of grace, but the action aspect of the miracle should be controlled by me because of my complete awareness of the whole plan. The impersonal nature of miracle-mindedness ensures your grace, but only I am in a position to know where they can be bestowed.
Mhm. Yeah, so this is a little bit of what what was being said above, that that only I, which is the Christ mind, the Holy Spirit, the guide, the higher guide, is in a position to know where the miracle can be bestowed because of the miracle readiness of the person that would receive that miracle. So it's not, yeah, we don't need to be concerned with the effects on our brothers, because the miracle is going to heal what it's meant to heal, and it will always be a blessing to you, the miracle worker. But the effect of that on the on our brother, we don't need to be concerned with. In other words, each person has their own lessons to learn, and therefore what lesson the other person is learning is none of our business, basically. And what aspect of their mind is ready to be healed, that's up to them, because we're deciding the time that it's going to take us to heal our mind, and everyone decides that for themselves. So ultimately, we're all going to get to the same place, which is the healed mind, because it's one mind. Okay, but the recognition of that cannot be forced on anyone. And so it's about just offering the miracle, and then just, it's a little bit like giving. When we truly give something, we don't put strings attached on it. We don't make it conditional, like, all right, yes, I will give you these $20, but I want to make sure that you're not going to buy cigarettes. I want to make sure that you're not going to spend it on, on junk food. I want to make sure that, you use it to eat healthy. So I'm putting all these conditions, Okay, well, that's not giving. So the miracle worker is guided to give, and then what happens with that is up to the contract, up to the agreements that the Holy Spirit. It's up to the Holy Spirit and the person that's receiving the miracle, because we're all receiving guidance. And we're all the captain of our ship. And so we all work with the Holy Spirit when we are ready to, and when the mind is open, and we can't force that. That cannot be forced on anyone. Precisely because the miracle is coming from love, and love is not imprisonment. It's not force. It's not pressure. It's not guilt. It's not, um, pounding on your just pounding on you to go one way or another. So it's loving. That's all it is. It's love. And that's why they are still, let's see, they're expressions of your own state of grace, which is love. But the action aspect of the miracle should be controlled by me because of my complete awareness of the whole plan. And that's what I'm saying. I mean, we can be conscious of our own progress and our own process, you know, in the atonement. But we have to leave that to the Holy Spirit when it comes to someone else. And so the Holy Spirit is the one in the position to know where they can be bestowed. So, okay, number 9.
I think it's your turn, Mom.
My turn. Okay,
I can
miracles.
read again.
You want to
I
read
can
again?
read again.
All right.
Sure.
Mhm.
Miracles are selective only in the sense that they are directed towards those who can use them for themselves. Since this makes it inevitable that they will extend them to others, a strong chain of atonement is welded. However, this selectivity takes no account of the magnitude of the miracle itself, because the concept of size exists on a plane that is itself unreal. Since the miracle aims at restoring the awareness of reality, it would not be useful if it were bound by laws that govern the error it aims to correct.
Yes, so the idea of this chain of atonement is that the healing of the mind means that the miracles are going to be directed toward those who can use them for themselves, who are open to receiving them. And therefore, it will make it inevitable that they will also extend them to others. So the idea is that there's a strong chain of atonement so that the forgiven, the miracle is a result of forgiveness and a recognition that we are forgiven. And when we receive that, we are in a position to share that and extend that to others. And so this is what makes this strong chain of atonement, which is the remembering that we are one, that we are not separate. And it may seem like it's, you know, it may be easy to judge it as, oh, that's just being selective, you know, everybody should receive them. But it's not that it's not that it's arbitrary. Is that the selectivity takes no account of the magnitude. Okay, so the selectivity has to do with who will actually receive them and use them to extend forgiveness, because not everybody is ready to do that yet. And it's just saying that the magnitude of the miracle itself is, let's see, that it should not be compared, so that the size of the miracle should not be compared. So if I have a small miracle, you know, in my life, and because I just forgave someone because, you know, they accidentally dropped my phone and it broke and I had to go get it fixed or whatever. And then and I forgave them. Okay. And they received a miracle, and they had a car accident in which, you know, they were really badly injured and they broke their back, but they their back miraculously healed. Okay. That's not for me to compare the size of that miracle, like saying, oh, geez, you know, why did they get such a big miracle, you know? um, because that's irrelevant. So the concept of size is irrelevant to the miracle, because size is part of the error. that we make when we believe we are an ego, a body, subject to limitation and degrees. And the miracle is not coming from that plane. So, so it cannot be bound by the laws of the world that govern the error that it aims to correct, because it's beyond the world. Yeah. So let's see. Was that that was 9? Okay, so that's actually, yeah, that's the end of the section. The next section is number 4, the escape from darkness. Okay, so any questions before we stop? No. Okay, well, thank you, everyone. And until the next time, have a good week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.